Okay, Chapter 12, Section 3, Pacific South America today. All of the countries of Pacific South America have faced similar issues in recent years. These include poverty, unstable government, economic development, and how to encourage development and still protect the environment. Several of these countries are making progress while others still have problems. Ecuador struggles with poverty and political instability. Bolivia's government is trying to gain stability and improve the economy. Peru has made progress against poverty and violence. And Chile has a stable government and a strong economy. Those are the four countries that we're looking at that make up Pacific South America. So the major problems of the countries of Pacific South America have been poverty, unstable governments, and economic development. Ecuador today. In recent decades, the countries of Pacific South America have all experienced periods of political instability. Ecuador, in particular, has faced recent instability. Widespread poverty is a constant threat to a stable government in this country. Ecuador has been a democracy since 1979. Still, the country has experienced great political instability and corruption. From 1996 to 2007, the country had 9 different presidents. In 2004, Ecuadorian President Lucio Gutierrez fired the majority of the nation's Supreme Court judges because they did not support him. Soon after, to quiet his political opponents, Gutierrez declared a state of emergency. In response, the Ecuadorian Congress forced Gutierrez from power in 2005. In 2006, Ecuadorians elected Rafael Correa president. In 2009, Correa was the first Ecuadorian president to be re-elected in more than 30 years. Ecuador has 3 different economic regions. One region, the coastal lowlands, has agriculture and industry. The country's largest city, Guayaquil, is located there. It is Ecuador's major port and commercial center. The Andean region of Ecuador is poorer. Quito, the national capital, is located there. Open-air markets and Spanish colonial buildings attract many tourists to Quito and other towns in the region. A third region, the Amazon Basin, has valuable oil deposits. The oil industry provides jobs that draw people to the region. Oil is also Ecuador's main export, but the oil industry has brought problems as well as benefits. The country's economy suffers if the world oil price drops. In addition, some citizens worry that drilling for oil could harm the rainforest. Bolivia today. Like Ecuador, Bolivia is a poor country. Poverty has been a cause of political unrest in recent years. After years of military rule, Bolivia is a democracy. Bolivia's government is divided between 2 capital cities. The Supreme Court meets in Sucre, but the Congress meets in La Paz. Located about 12,000 feet or 3,660 meters, La Paz is the highest capital city in the world. It is also Bolivia's main industrial center. In the early 2000s, many Bolivians disagreed with their government's plans for fighting presidents to resign, or for fighting poverty. National protests forced several presidents to resign. Then in 2005, Bolivians elected an indigenous leader, Evo Morales, as president. Re-elected president in 2009, Morales continued to work to improve the lives of Bolivia's poor. Bolivia is the poorest country in South America. In the plains of eastern Bolivia, there are few roads and little money for investment. However, foreign aid has provided funds for some development. In addition, the country has valuable resources, including metals and natural gas. Peru today. Peru is the largest and most populous country in Pacific South America. Today, it is making some progress against political violence and poverty. Peru's capital, Lima, is the largest city in the region. Nearly 1/3 of all Peruvians live in Lima or the nearby port of Callao. Lima has industry, universities, and government jobs, which attract many people from the countryside to Lima. Lima was the colonial capital of Peru, and the city still contains many beautiful old buildings from the colonial era. It has high-rise apartments and wide, tree-lined boulevards. However, as in many big urban areas, a lot of people there live in poverty. In spite of the poverty, central Lima has few slum areas. This is because most poor people prefer to claim land on the outskirts of the city and build their own houses. Often they can get only poor building materials. They also have a hard time getting water and electricity from the city. Settlements of new self-built houses are called young towns in Lima. Over time, as people improve and add to their houses, the new settlements develop into large permanent suburbs. Many of the people in Lima's young towns are migrants from the highlands. Some came to Lima to escape violence in their home villages. In the 1980s and 1990s, a terrorist group called the Shining Path was active. This group carried out deadly attacks because it opposed government policies. Some 70,000 people died in violence between the Shining Path and government forces, and Peru's economy suffered. However, after the arrest of the group's leaders, Peru's government began making progress against political violence and poverty. The country has an elected president and Congress. Peru's resources are key factors in its economic progress. Some mineral deposits are located near the coast, and hydroelectric projects on rivers provide energy. Peru's highlands are less developed than the coastal areas. However, many Peruvian Indians grow potatoes and corn there. Chile today. Like Peru, Chile has ended a long, violent period. Chile now has a stable government and a growing economy. In 1970, Chileans elected a president who had some ideas influenced by communism. A few years later, he was overthrown and died in a U.S.-backed military coup. A coup is a sudden overthrow of a government by a small group of people. In the years after the coup, military rulers tried to crush their political enemies. Chile's military government was harsh and often violent. It imprisoned or killed thousands of people. In the late 1980s, Chile's military dictatorship weakened the Chileans, created a new democratic government. In 2006, Chileans elected their first female president, Michelle Bachelet. And in 2010, they elected business leader Sebastián Piñera president. Chile's economy is the strongest in the region. Poverty rates have decreased, and Chile's prospects for the future seem bright. Small business and factories are growing quickly. More Chileans are finding work, and wages are rising. About 1/3 of all Chileans live in central Chile. This region includes the capital, Santiago, and a nearby seaport, Valparaiso. Its mild Mediterranean climate allows farmers to grow many crops. For example, grapes grow well there, and Chilean fruit and wine are exported all around the world. Farming, fishing, forestry, and mining form the basis of Chile's economy. Copper mining is especially important. It accounts for more than 1/3 of Chile's exports. Chile's economic stability was rocked by a massive earthquake that struck on February 27, 2010. The quake killed about 500 Chileans and caused about $30 billion of damage to buildings, homes, and streets. Today, Chile's people and government continue to rebuild their nation. In recent years, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, and Chile have struggled with political violence and poverty. However, Peru and Chile are recovering.